Okay, gentlemen, I will show you the new vacuum setup I got from Sonnax. The little bit I know about it. It's very well made. It's very professional looking. In my opinion, it wouldn't pay to build one for the cost. It would probably cost you about the same, and it wouldn't be done as nicely, where it's a nice showing if you want to show a customer how you go about testing a valve body to ensure you're not replacing parts without being necessary. Okay, it comes with a rubber pad, which I thought was a cool knee pad, but it has a better purpose than that. If you look at this section of valve body here that I had cut the other day to see the valve wear, on the opposite side, you see these little ports here? Well, that's where the pad comes in to play. When you place the valve body on the pad, it sinks into the pad a little bit, which seals off that port. So when you're testing the opposite side, you're not sucking air from the back side of the valve body, giving you false readings, thinking you have a worn valve when you may not have. So that's the purpose of the pad. Also, here's the test plate. It has a cool release valve. You press down on this plastic here, and you pull out the tube. Very nicely done. And Bob T recommends, he knows a lot more about this than I do, and he filled me in on some of the tips. Just coat the backside with trans gel, so when you put it on, place it onto the valve body, it helps promote the suction to the valve body, which better suction means less leaks, more accurate readings. On the test stand itself, here's the test port. This is the port you use on either these rubber tips or on the plexiglass plate. There's also a calibration port. There's a little bleed hole, for lack of a better term, on the side of it. I'll show you what that does in a few minutes. Two valves. One says pump, one's a bleed valve. So now we take your test port and stick it into the calibration port, as you see I've done here. And I have the valve hose that says pump on it hooked to my vacuum pump, which I'm going to turn on, which will be a little louder, so it may be harder to hear me. But when I turn it on, I'll show you how they recommend you calibrate the machine. Here goes. Okay, with the pump running, they want you to have 5 on the gauge. You obtain that by adjusting the pump valve until you achieve the number 5, as you see there. Now that on the other end, they want 25, so you take your finger and place it over that hole that was on the side of it, and you should get 25. I'm very close. I have one hand, so I can't adjust the bleed valve to obtain that number and show the video, but that's how you would obtain the 25, by adjusting the bleed valve until you get 25. Take your finger off and it should go back to 5. Like you see there. It's a little tricky to get the 5 and 25. It takes a few seconds. I guess with use it'll be quicker. But being it's new, I'm a little not familiar with it, so it's a little awkward at best. Okay, release the tubing from your calibration port. Now you would be ready to test. You stick it into your test plate or vacuum tips, depending on what you're testing. You have to calibrate it every time you use the machine, because temperature plays a factor. If it's damp out, a dry day, you'll get different vacuum readings. That's the reason for the calibration port. It does appear to be critical. You could be 5 inches off, maybe more, depending on the weather and depending on your location of where you're doing the testing. If you're in the mountains versus lowlands, a lot of factors. So that's why I thought vacuum testing, I just used the vacuum pump to get readings on a valve, and that's completely bogus. Too much vacuum and you'll always get a decent vacuum reading, because it can overcome the leak. I believe I have that right, if it was if I understood the way it was explained to me. So that's the reason you have to have the proper amount of vacuum to see the wear in the valve. Too much, and that's the reason for the calibration, and it will mask your wear on the valve. please, if you watch this video, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. I don't want to confuse anyone more than I'm confused already. Thank you. I hope this video helps someone. Thank you.